first of all, for this fish pie, I'm just making some Mornay sauce. And what I've got there is 3 heaped tablespoons of butter, which I've melted. I have then added 3 heaped tablespoons of flour and cooked that for about 3 or 4 minutes over a very low heat. And then we've got 3 cups of milk, which I've brought to the boil and then turned off, and I just add it all at once. Now, when you read Mornay sauce recipes, they all talk about adding it bit by bit. Don't even think about it. Throw the whole lot in at once and whisk vigorously. Now I'll just turn that up a bit, and I can tell from that I'm going to need a little bit more milk. At this stage you can add cold milk, it doesn't matter. So we'll add about another cup of milk and just keep whisking it. We'll also add some seasoning. Traditionally you add freshly ground white pepper. That's because they don't like the flecks of black in it. I don't care. What does it matter? Seems a bit strange. A bit pedantic to me. So we won't worry about that. All right, that's looking pretty good. Now, what have we got here? We've got some canned salmon, which I've just taken out of the can and drained. Then I've just flaked it in decent sized pieces. I've got some egg, which I've cooked for 8 minutes because I want it hard boiled. So you put it into boiling water, bring it back to the boil, and then time it for 8 minutes. And by doing that, as you can see, there's no grey bit around the edge, and there's even a little bit of tender yellow in the centre. That one leaked a bit, so we don't have quite the tender part. I've also cooked some rice in the rice cooker, which is normal long grain rice, but I've cooked that until it's ready. And I'm going to mix that with some of this Mornay, and at this stage we're going to add quite a bit of tasty cheese to that Mornay. A good cup of tasty. I will also add the smallest amount more milk. And let's just allow that cheese to melt. Now, let's just throw some of this rice into a bowl. Now this is still hot. I've just taken this out of the rice cooker now, but it doesn't matter if it was cooked even the day before, it's fine. So that'll be tons actually, that's a bit too much, because I haven't got a really big dish. And to that we will then add about 2/3 of this Mornay sauce. Just keep some back, and I'll just grab a wooden spoon and we'll mix that up. This is for the base of the pie. So it'll be nice cheesy rice mix. So then we grab one of these gratin dishes, and I'll just turn that Mornay off, sorry. I knew I'd forgotten something. And we put this cheesy rice mix in the base. Don't worry, it looks a bit like rice pudding. It doesn't taste like it, I promise you. That'll do us. And then we just lay some of these eggs on top of that. That's one for me to have later. And on top of that we just put this salmon. Now I want it in decent chunks. I mean, it doesn't have to be huge pieces, of course, but I don't want it all sort of just broken up, because then it becomes a bit of a mush. So make sure that it's, as I said, in decent sized chunks. And I would say off the top of my head, about 1 can for a dish about this size. Right, that's looking good. What size can is that? 415 grams, so about that. And then just some frozen peas which I've thawed. When I say I've thawed, all I've really done is actually pull them out of the freezer and run them under some hot water. About half a cup of those. Or, let's be fair, as few or as many as you like. I don't really care. And then on the top of that, we'll just put the rest of this Mornay sauce. I have done it using the rice Mornay. I didn't think it was quite as good. I thought you needed the straight Mornay on the top. And then you get sort of contrast, don't you? Because you've got the rice down the bottom, or the cheesy rice mixture down the bottom. Then you've got the second layer, and then you've got just a straight sauce on top. But as I said, that's up to you. I don't care. You do what you like. And then a decent amount of tasty cheese, once again, on the top. I may have filled this a bit too much, kids. It's looking a bit like that, isn't it? I got a bit excited. I think a little bit less would have been a good idea, because it's going to come over the edges a bit. But we'll just remove that little bit, because that is definitely going to come over the edge. And then I'm going to put it into a 200-degree oven. Do as I say, not as I do. In a situation like this, I'd put an oven dish underneath it to make sure that anything that came over the side, because I have filled it a little bit too much. But we'll just put it in that 200-degree oven for about 10 or 15 minutes until it's golden and bubbling, and hopefully hasn't spilled everywhere in the oven.